Henry, our hero Henry, the fellow who helps his fellow man.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a brutal, immersive RPG, and if you go in blind, you might make the game way harder than it needs to be. But don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video, I'll share the most essential tips to make your experience smoother, more convenient, and way more enjoyable. I'm focusing on tips you can use very early on, whether they're quick and simple or a bit more elaborate. And stick around for the last tip. It's hands down the best thing you can do to speed up progression and make every part of the game easier from the moment you do it. Let's jump in. First of all, the most basic of basics, hunger and food. You see all those items in your inventory going bad, giving different nourishment values. You have to buy them or dry them or smoke them, blah blah blah. What if I told you there's a free, unlimited food source that never goes bad and gives you the highest nourishment you can get? That's right, once you're done with the intro and get to your first town, it's right there waiting for you. You can go here, and there's 2 more spots very close. If you go to the nearest one, as one of my viewers mentioned in a comment on a previous video, the answer is honey, full stop. You can see those lovely beehives, and they often have 10 per beehive. We are here, and 2 steps away, there's 6 more. And in 2 seconds, we ended up with 53 pieces. They never spoil. They give you 31 nourishment. That's almost a third of your whole hunger meter. The only downside is that they are a bit heavy, but you can park the majority on your horse and keep a few on you, because you don't really need much. That's it. No vendors involved or worry about spoiling over time. And the best part, it respawns every 3 or 4 in-game days, and it's not stealing. No guards or civilians will react to you looting it, no risk to reputation or anything. Just free, infinite food. As you can see in the full map here, here's a screenshot, there's plenty of them scattered around. Whenever you're passing by, loot them all, and the hunger mechanic is something you can forget about. The herbs you collect can go bad. That doesn't mean they're useless. If you find any of those drying racks, you can see there's a few here in your first town. They're free to use and you can put your rotten herbs and they instantly jump back in your inventory as dried and back to 100 again. And they never spoil. The downside is that dried herbs or bad herbs will prevent you from getting the best quality potions in alchemy. But if you have enough skill and you mix them with other ingredients that are good quality, you can still get the best quality potions even with dry herbs. You'll see more about this in the last tip. When you want nothing else but just trade with a vendor, you don't have to go through the boring cutscene every time you talk to them to trade. You can click the quick prompt at the bottom right here. On PC it's Alt, and then you can press 1 to get into the trade window right away. Which leads us to the next tip about trading. When you have items to sell, make sure you sell them to the right vendor. Not all vendors will give you the same price for the same item. The idea is you want to sell items to vendors who would sell the same type of item. So weapons to the blacksmith, cloth to a tailor, herbs to the apothecaries, etc. And general traders will buy anything, but will give you the worst price. Here, for example, the same item, my sword, would sell to the blacksmith for 139, to a random dude walking in the middle of nowhere for 79, and still, the general trader is worse at 77. You have 3 outfits, which you can cycle through by clicking the pedestal here. Being limited to 3, makes it a sensible thing to make 1 for a charisma build for conversations, 1 for your combat, and 1 for stealth for your nightly adventures. But that's not the tip here. The tip has to do with combining the outfits with this perk under Vitality, next to Godlike. This will heal you for 10 health every time you wash yourself in one of those tubs. Now the trick here, once you wash, it won't let you wash again right away. It's grayed out, but if you change outfits and the next one probably has dirty pieces, you will be able to instantly wash again to heal more. So that's 3 times in a row, which means 30 health back for free instantly. So you don't need to sleep or use potions to top up your health back up if you just lost 30 health. This one is surprisingly unclear to many players. Basically, you have a stash. Any place like an inn or at the blacksmith in Tarkov, those beds will have a chest next to them and that's your stash. It has no limit and is shared so you can access it from any of your other permanent beds in other locations. You will often find books that you can study and improve a skill by doing so. Studying will take time depending on the book, You can see, for example, my progress with that book is 18%. Now, oftentimes you will also have to wait for things. Here I wanted to wait till morning, so the tip here is to save your actual time by doing both. Whenever you want to wait, read a book, because that's 2 birds with 1 stone. You'll pass the time and learn something too. You can also get more XP when you study while sitting. Charisma is pretty important to have a smooth experience and get your way with things. And as early as level 8, you can get this perk in survival, Flower Power, which gives you 2 charisma when you have 30 herbs on you. They can be dry as well, so if you keep 30 on you, you have this perk forever. This doesn't seem to properly work when the herbs are on your horse. You can see here it does work when the herbs are on your horse. You can see I do have it still. But as soon as I move away, it's gone. And then even if I try to get closer and closer to the horse, I never get it back until 30 herbs are actually in my inventory again. That's how I tested it anyway, as you can see. So it's best to keep those 30 dried herbs on you. This one is really important. You don't want to make this mistake. You know you've got item quality of 3 tiers and then a 4th for Henry for the crafted gear. You know you should repair your gear when you see those symbols or sharpen your weapon. This one is the critical one. Your equipment will degrade, losing durability. If you don't repair it in time, the durability will drop to 0 and your equipment quality will lower a rank and you cannot get it back up. So you can have a piece of gear that you really like and destroy it forever. So always repair your gear before it's too late. You can get your horse back as soon as you get to the open world and make your way to Samit. The horse trader there will have pebbles. You can buy it from him, or with a speech check, you can convince him to give it back to you for free.
Wait, that's my Pebbles, my girl.
Pebbles is shit. Even civilians, when they see it, will tell you it's shit.
I wouldn't want that mare if someone gave it to me for free.
But don't rush to another horse. If you ride Pebbles for 35 kilometers, that excludes fast travel, you will unlock a hidden perk called Good Old Pebbles. And this will skyrocket Pebbles' stats, especially the storage. You can check the distance ridden in the statistics menu, but obviously that will include other horses if you've ridden any. Pebbles is still a coward, not so great for horse combat, if you care about that, but for storage, Pebbles becomes a beast. Here's the before and after. There's also another horse that you will get later on in the game, which has the same type of perk too.
My, what a beautiful horse.
If you steal items, they will be marked in your inventory with this marker. And it will even tell you where it's stolen from. If you wear this gear in the same place where you stole it from, guards are not idiots. They will be able to tell like this.
How bold of you! You steal something from us, and then you go walking around with it on. That's not happening. Surrender at once! You're a thief, and I'll treat you as such. You're even stupid enough to be wearing what you stole.
You will be immediately busted and you will be punished for it. So avoid falling for this mistake, especially if you're stealing early on in the game to make some money and get some early gear.
Remember that trick I showed you?
Tomcat is a really good master who does not give up on his students. He will never cancel the training session until you finish your combo correctly. So you can grind combat XP by just repeatedly attacking him without doing the right combo. This is a fairly quick and easy way to level up combat skills early on in the game. He just doesn't give up. What a great teacher.
Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off.
You can find him at the north of the Nomad camp right here.
Technique I taught you.
While we're on the topic of combat, do not spam riposte. It looks cool, but any good enemy will keep going back and forth with you, which will deplete your stamina. If you haven't noticed, your stamina is a shield to your health. So when you get hit with non-piercing attacks, you will lose stamina, not health. You will start losing health when you're hit and your stamina is depleted. So spamming riposte opens you to health damage. This is not a combat guide, but if there's one advice you should have, is that Master Strike will carry you through the whole game. So try to get more comfortable with catching it properly. You've probably heard about farming this camp since it respawns and has got some horses you can steal. But here's something other guides might have missed. Just nearby, there's a small cave with a chest that's an easy lockpick. Inside, you'll find a weighted dice. A weighted dice will tend to land on 1. And the best part? The chest respawns every few days. Now here's the trade-off. Having multiple weighted dice makes the game ridiculously easy. If you stock up on 6, you'll pretty much always win. That can be great early on. I'm avoiding spoilers here, but the earliest story milestone is a big celebration where you'll have the chance to play against some skilled opponents. You will win this way, but if you enjoy the challenge of the dice game, it might feel like you're cheating. And if you want a quick crash course on how the dice game works, check out my guide linked above. While we're at this camp, it also has some horses you can steal. If you're going to be making money stealing horses, make sure you do that during the day. Because if the trader is not there, you're screwed. You cannot pass the time with a stolen horse because it will run away. So you will have to wait forever in real time until the vendor is available, or keep fast traveling to pass the time, which is really annoying. So don't make that mistake. The vendor at the Nomad camp, for example, as you can see, I cannot talk to him, and now I can. So he opens shop, as you can see, at exactly 7 AM. And at the end of the day, you can see I can talk to him, and bam, he closed shop. And it's now 7 PM. So whenever you steal horses from the nearby camp, make sure it's between those hours. Now this tip will get you an unbelievably powerful sword quite early on in the game. But there's a few caveats and conditions, so please pay attention to this. The sword is called the Ataman Saber. Now you can get this sword from multiple locations, and later on you can get the schematic to craft the highest quality version of it. But that is later. Now the earliest time you can get this weapon is missable, so let me show you the criteria to make sure you don't miss it. Our target location is this camp here in Apollonia. Now here's the trick. You want to find Cumans in this camp. By default, this will be a bandit camp, not Cumans. Cumans will only appear here after certain events. Number 1, you have to be on the Invaders quest, and while you have it, you have to finish the jaunt. Once you finish the jaunt, or if you find yourself having Invaders and the Hermit, which is the follow-up quest to the jaunt, then you're good to go. If you come here to this camp, you will find Cumans here, not bandits. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but you can fail the jaunt. If that happens, this camp, as far as I know, will never have Cumans. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if you know otherwise. Now when you get to the camp, the sword is guaranteed from the dude in orange. Or is that mustard? You can sneak up at night and knock him out or rob him. Or you can catch him solo patrolling and knock him out. Be careful though, sometimes it won't be on him because he actually dropped it on the ground under him, like this. This weapon is pretty powerful. You will be getting a quality 2 version this way, but it's still amazing as an early weapon. It has slash, stab, and even blunt damage, and the chance to cause bleeding as well. The weapon has strength and agility requirements, as you can see here. Now when your stats meet those requirements, that's good, but when you exceed them, you will actually do more damage with the sword. So it will scale with you nicely even when you level up. Now let's see how we can do this sooner than later to maximize its power. There's a few perks you can use here. There are 2 perks called Train Hard and Fight Easy, and 2 perks called Deft Hands. Those will lower the required strength and agility by 2 and 5 respectively. They don't stack, but one is an upgrade to the other, so you will still have to spend 4 points, 2 in each category. As you can see, I now have them both, and the original requirement for the weapon is 18 strength and 22 agility. And you can see here, they're both lowered by 5. You can also benefit from Finesse, which increases slashing damage. And if you're brave, you can add Dominant Hand, which means you can't equip a shield, but as I mentioned earlier, if you master the Master Strike, who needs a shield? This sword can genuinely carry you for a very long time. And like I mentioned, you can get an upgraded version of it later in the game.
Everything we need is in the hut. Let's get to it.
Alright, you've made it to the last step, or if you skipped to here from the intro, shame on you. But anyway, this is an alchemy tip and it's a bit elaborate. The idea here is to reach level 16 as quickly as possible and craft the ultimate XP boost potion called Henry Fox. I think this is the fastest way to level alchemy, and you can do it as soon as you finish the tutorial and get to your first town. Let's start. We're going to need 2 ingredients, marigold and nettle. We're here at the very first town. There's an alchemy bench here and a garden right outside of it. Couldn't be more convenient. Marigold is that orange flower. We can raid this place and pick it all. And here's a map of some other locations where you can find marigold. The second item is nettle. This is a bit more elusive because it's just green, so it's harder to see. But it's not far. If we go a little to the south, we can see it here all along the fence. Herbs respawn after 1 in-game week, and I think they won't if you hang around in the area. Right now, you have the marigold and the nettle. And at this point, I hadn't touched alchemy. I did the basic quest intro stuff, and that was it. So let's look at my level and the perks we need before we start cooking. To make it clear, our goal is to reach level 16 to be able to get this perk, Secret of Secrets. This is what will allow us to make the Henry potions. This is the ultimate rank in alchemy. You can see here I'm level 9, and in the alchemy tree at this point, you can take the Secret of Matter perk, but this will give you 1 extra potion at the cost of 10 XP less when crafting. The penalty isn't that big of a deal, but for the sake of efficiency, I won't take it. Now here's a real must. Under Scholarship, you will want to take Wonders of Nature. This will boost your alchemy XP by 20%. And in the main level, you can get Pacifist, which will increase your speed and skill for non-combat skills, aka alchemy. This is also ideal for efficiency, so I'll take it. It just means I have to stop being a murderer for 12 hours before doing this. And it requires level 14. That's the setup. Let's start cooking. You have to follow the steps exactly as I do them to get the perfect potion. I'll put the steps in text for you so you can take a screenshot if you want. So let's begin and time this. And remember, even if the steps don't feel intuitive at times, it's best to follow them this way to make sure that timing of things remains perfect. We're going to be making a healing potion. We have our marigold and nettle. We put them on the shelf like this and start our steps. We start by pouring in the water in the cauldron. And then lowering the cauldron. Grab some nettle and throw them in the cauldron. And then we flip the hourglass. And then grab 2 handfuls of marigold and throw them in the mortar, but don't grind them yet. We first need to raise the cauldron. Then we grind the marigold. Then toss it in the cauldron. Grab a file, pour it in, and you've got a potion. And that's the grind. This took us a little over a minute, and we got 3 strong marigold decoctions. That's a healing potion. Pretty handy to keep, or you can sell it to make some money. Now let's repeat that to get to 16. I'll speed it up and time it. One thing to note here, the fact that we have the perk Pacifist, which gives us a +2 bonus to alchemy, doesn't mean that we can unlock our target perk, Secret of Secrets, at 2 levels lower, which would be 14. This has to be actual level 16. Cannot cheat that way. And that's it. We're now at level 16. And it took a little over 20 minutes. Now we can get our perk, and since we don't care about XP anymore, and we want to make more potions, then it's time to get Secret of Matter 1 and 2. Now on to the final part. What we want to be crafting is Henry's Fox. This is a more complicated potion in terms of steps and ingredients, but I'll give you all the info and options you need to make it as easy as possible. Here's what we need. 1 nettle, 1 belladonna, 1 St. John's wort, and 1 charcoal. There's an apothecary right next to us, and we can get the charcoal from there, and we already have the nettle. He also sells all sorts of herbs, but only in dried form. We'll get to this point later. So we're going to find the belladonna first. This place here, north of us, is the closest for belladonnas. That didn't happen. So we arrive here, and to our left you'll immediately see a few belladonnas. They're a bit subtle to see, but we can collect some of them here. There's also some nettle here as well. And here is another map with other possible locations for belladonnas. Now on to the rarest herb, which is luckily not that rare, and there's also a couple of tricks to avoid dealing with its rarity. The closest and easiest place to get some of it is here. If you go to Apollonia, right at the fast travel arrival spot, it will be on the left here along the path. You will get a few here, and here's a map of some other suggested locations. I'm not sure if there's something special with a spawn rate for this herb, but the first trick I wanted to mention is that top location. This is an old herbalist in the middle of nowhere who sells all types of herbs fresh, including St. John's wort. And he also has some in his garden, and he doesn't mind if you help yourself. There's one more trick I'll show you to avoid dealing with St. John's rarity, but for now, we got all our ingredients and it's time to cook. As before, please follow the steps in the exact order, and I'll put them all in text for you in case you want to take a screenshot. Let's start. We'll select all our ingredients. And we'll start with adding oil. And then we'll add 1 St. John's wort and 1 nettle in the mortar. Grind both. Add them to the cauldron. Lower the cauldron. Turn the hourglass. Add charcoal to the mortar. Turn the hourglass again, but wait for it to finish its first cycle. Raise the cauldron when the hourglass empties. Grind the charcoal. Add to the cauldron. Add 1 belladonna to the cauldron. Lower the cauldron again. Turn the hourglass. Raise the cauldron when the hourglass is empty. And then pour in a phial, and you've got your potions. There you go. We made the perfect potion, and we got the maximum amount of Henry's Fox potions. This potion will increase your speech by 7. Speech is the hardest thing to level, so that's a big one. But if you don't care, this potion will also give you 50% more XP to everything you do in the game. And it lasts for 2 days. So that single craft that we did now keeps this buff on for 24 in-game days. Absolute hack. This literally fast forwards progression in the game and makes life so much easier. Now the last trick I promised is that you can avoid dealing with St. John's wort's rarity by buying it dried from the apothecary. If we use it dried along with all other ingredients being fresh and not make any mistakes, we will still get 6 Henry's Fox potions. I'm speeding it up here to save time, but here we go, another 6 Henry's Foxes, even while using dried St. John's wort. Easy peasy. Now let me know in the comments if you think there's other essential tips that everyone must know about that I didn't include. I know there's many more anyway, I might make another video about some more, but those are the ones I felt will be the most helpful, and they're all doable or worth knowing as early as your first couple of hours in the game. If you found this guide helpful, please hit the like, sub, ring the bell for more content like this. Thank you for your time, and see you in the next video.